there's a question that's been raised here as to whether or not, and it is 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons for Harris, and they didn't pick up the fifth-year option. There was a question that was raised about whether or not the early season performance from Russ, just in 2 weeks, does that serve as an indictment of Sean Payton in Denver? Well, you could also throw Nathaniel Hackett in there as well, because that's when it started. And we didn't know after the first season. I guess we could say now it's more Hackett than Russ, because we've seen Hackett's body of work since being fired by Denver. But this is, and look, nothing against Sean Payton. Sean Payton wanted to run his offense. But what you got to do, if you want to be successful with the guys you have, you got to do what works with the guys you have. You got to adjust to the guys you have. And the Steelers didn't adjust anything. The Steelers just recognized, hey, what Russell Wilson did all those years in Seattle with a good running game, great running game with Marshawn Lynch, damn good defense, Legion of Boom. We can take that, Russ. We can make that work. We got the ingredients. We can let Russ cook in this kitchen. This is perfect. We don't have to adjust anything. And so that's why we're seeing him. And I said before the season, he's got to turn the clock back to pre-Denver, or he's not going to have a chance to start anywhere next year. And it's only 2 games, but we're seeing the Russell Wilson, a little less mobility. Tried to get away from the rush at one point. Maybe he would have done that 5 years ago. But we're seeing him run the offense. We're seeing him bring that personality, that will to win to the table. And it's what the Steelers offense has needed in the years since Ben Roethlisberger retired, Michael.
Mike, it's an indictment. You asked, is this an indictment of Nathaniel Hackett? Well, yes, to a degree, of course, because we've seen Nathaniel Hackett's work in multiple locations, and it's been a little spotty the last few years. So it's an indictment of Nathaniel Hackett, it's an indictment of Sean Payton, and it's an indictment of Russell Wilson, because he has to get back. I think it started in Seattle, which led to the trade in the first place, because he got away from the formula that worked. He really started to buy into that, let Russ cook and that whole thing. And then he wanted to just prove to everybody that he was something different, that he could be one of these, gunslinger, kind of throw the ball all over the field kind of guys. And he went to Denver. He had more power than Nathaniel Hackett, the rookie coach. And so he was off that season. And then I think he had a clash. We all know he had a clash with Sean Payton. Russell still wants to do his thing. Payton wants to do his thing. And I think he's been humbled. Going to Pittsburgh, it's not like multiple teams were knocking down the door for him. He's on a 1-year deal and for a minimum salary. I know the Broncos' salary had a lot to do with his options of signing that 1-year deal. He's still getting paid, but it's not like a lot of teams thought, we got to go out and get Russell Wilson. So he's finally in a system that works for him, and I think he's allowing himself to be coached after a few years where he kind of went rogue. He kind of went rogue from the Russell Wilson that we came to know, that the Super Bowl winning quarterback.
And I agree with you completely. There was a time 4 or 5 years ago when Chris Sims does his quarterback rankings every year, Russell Wilson was starting to slip. And I vaguely recall having the discussion with Chris, is he slipping, or is it just that you've got younger guys who are coming in and it's a little bit of a mirror on the wall thing where Patrick Mahomes, here he is. He's better than Russell Wilson. Here's Josh Allen. And so and I think that some way, somehow, and I don't know how it got into his mind that I can do what those guys do, and the thing that's keeping me from regarded as being the caliber of player that they are is that they don't let me. The offense doesn't run through me. And I remember when we were trying to make that argument to folks, they're like, what are you talking about? Every offense runs through a quarterback. No, there are some offenses where the quarterback has a very specific, defined role. It's not just go do whatever you think. If the play we called breaks down, do whatever you think you need to do. Just turn it on. Mahomes, Allen, they do that. Russ, especially now that he's going to be 36 next month, he can't just do that. He can't make a play out of thin air. Kirk Cousins can't either. So there's a limit to how Russ can cook, but that was the mindset. They wanted Russ to be able to do more. The people in his orbit, let Russ cook. That's where that came from. If you don't let Russ cook, he's going to go find a new kitchen. That departure from the Seahawks was coming because they didn't let him do it. And then he gets to Denver, and it's like it doesn't work. And then Sean Payton comes in. And you know what, Michael? I think Sean Payton, from the moment he arrived, he had already predetermined. I don't want Russell Wilson. And so I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to lay my foundation. I'm going to make sure everybody understands my rules, my offense, and then we'll find a quarterback next year who can run it. And guess what? They're 5-3, and Bo Nix every week is looking more and more like upgrade version of Drew Brees. And I know that's saying a lot because Drew Brees has a Hall of Fame career, but I'm talking about physically upgrade, not performance. He's got a long way to go to match the performance. But it feels like even the quarterback sneak, he does the quarterback sneak the same way Drew Brees did. The reach the ball over the goal. I mean, it looks like Drew Brees, but more athletic, more physical, more able to withstand the NFL pounding. So Payton got what he wanted. Russell got what he wanted. And Hackett got what he wanted. He got to be with Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. So I guess it all worked out, except for Hackett.
Hackett kind of got what he wanted. And refresh my memory because I think COVID is a bit of a blur, but I think it was the COVID Super Bowl, which was Kansas City and Tampa. And I think that was the Super Bowl where Russ is there sitting with the commissioner. He's in the commissioner's box, and he's just kind of looking around. And you could tell there was some frustration. I think he even admitted it. I want to be in this situation. I'm not done winning Super Bowls. And so watching Tom Brady go from New England, where there was one way of doing business under Bill Belichick, and then going to the Buccaneers with Bruce Arians, and he kind of took over and he put his handprints all over the offense. Brady did, and they won the championship. I think that's what it started with Russ, of like, okay, I could do something different. Why not me? And if Sean Payton had been in Denver never would have been on his list to begin with. It's just, that's not a match for Sean Payton. Didn't want Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson didn't want Sean Payton, didn't want that offense. But the Arthur Smith offense is that's something that a Pete Carroll team would have had in the 2012, 2013. That's a Pete Carroll type of offense. We're going to run the ball. And we're gonna take our opportunities and take some shots. We must take some shots down the field, and that's what he's got right now.
Well, and that's all coming back to me now. And it was 2021. You're right. It was the COVID Super Bowl, and he did look miserable sitting in the box with the commissioner. Miserable. And it all came to a head that same month. That was the first and only time that I can remember that a player's agent put out a statement saying, my client does not want to be traded. But if he were to be traded, he would accept a trade to the Cowboys, the Raiders, the Bears, or the Saints. So he had Sean Payton on his radar screen long before he realized maybe this isn't the way my career should go. So, so he didn't realize it. He didn't understand how it was going to go when he got connected with Sean Payton. And I don't think he fully understood how the Sean Payton offense works. The Sean Payton offense relies upon a lot of pre-snap stuff that Russell just doesn't do. And let Russ cook means let Russ improvise. That's what became clear to me last year. All the things, and somebody pointed out to me, watch before a play, and I think Sims said this too, all the stuff that some of the quarterbacks do, directing traffic, changing this, changing that, Russ it's all he can do to get the play in, and he lines up and goes. And I think he wanted to, once he gets the ball, and he can do incredible things when he gets the ball in his hand. And there would be one play a game where he'd find Cortland Sutton, and it was a thing of beauty. But the problem is, for every one of those, there's 3 or 4 second and 16s that you got to deal with. And this is the phrase that I heard him say it last night during the broadcast, and I had heard it previously, hero ball. They don't want Russell Wilson playing hero ball. And the presence of Justin Fields. The idea is that will keep Russ from trying to do too much, because if he does and it fails, all right, Justin, you're in.
Except I don't think that's going to happen. You know why? And this is just reading. You shouldn't read into, I know better to read into body language too much, but body language is a part of communication.
Oh,
it is a
I
language.
agree completely.
Right?
Completely. Look at Aaron Rodgers. If you doubt us, folks, watch Aaron Rodgers in any Jets game this year.
And you know whose body language I watch? And I think this guy is a huge, not just what he says, but the way he looks at him. I think Mike Tomlin is a huge Russell Wilson fan. I mean, that after and there must have been something, I don't know if Tomlin talked about it post-game, after the touchdown to Austin, that put after Austin had his punt return, then Russell hits him with the touchdown pass, he kind of looks at Tomlin, and Tomlin points at him as if, hey, I told you, or we discussed this. They have, there's a kinship there. I don't know if they're both from Virginia or whatever it is, but they just have there's an alignment. I think he hasn't had an alignment like this with the head coach since, Pete Carroll in the good days. So it's been a long time. I think Tomlin appreciates the veteran presence and the savvy of Russell Wilson, and Wilson appreciates that Tomlin is a fan of his. I can see it.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.